Shalom Lakai Yahweh Bashamayim Bahasham Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. I'm doing this video because a close brother of mine asked me to do a video on it. Now, as you can see, the first scripture is Jeremiah chapter 2 verse 33. It says, "Why trimmest thou thy way to seek love? Therefore hast thou also taught the wicked ones thy ways." Now, there's a saying that you lead by example. But before I get to that, I want to get to this. It's talking about trimming our way to seek love. Now, the initial question was about holidays. And is it okay to be around people for the holidays even if you're not involved in it, even like you just may be over somebody's house and they happen to be indulging in holiday activities? The thing is this. When it comes to the judicial system in America, in this world, period, well, in America, I know for sure, there's a thing called guilty by association, right? And let's say if you're with a friend and you're just chilling with this friend, and he happens to commit a murder while you're with him, are you going to be blamed and get the same penalty or close to the penalty that he gets, even though you yourself did not commit an act? Yes, you will. And it's called accessory. You see, so we have to look at things with common sense. If you can be an accessory to murder, not even having a gun in your hand, but just being with the person when they did it, what's the difference with you being with somebody when they're in sin, even if you yourself are not sinning? See, we have to understand that, and we want to lean on our own understanding. And the Most High clearly tells us not to do that. So we can't lean on our own understanding with things that we want to be comfortable with. But then when it comes to things that it's like that, we can't lean on our own understanding with things that we're uncomfortable with. But then things that we're comfortable with, be like, yeah, that's cool. Then we listen to the Most High. You know what I'm saying? And you can't pick and choose what you want to do. Like, we'll go here real quick. Now it says, "Why trimmest thou thy way for love?" And we know the way is the way that the Most High shows us. You know what I'm saying? The way is to walk within the law, statutes, and commandments. So we want to trim the way the Most High told us to walk in order to please family, in order to please everybody, because we don't want to hurt anybody. We don't want to make enemies and this and that. And I'll get this scripture real quick. And we can, here we go. It said, "Am I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth?" Now, we don't want to become somebody's enemy, because we know the truth offends. The truth cuts deeper than any two-edged sword. And therefore, we want to trim our way to seek love. We want to trim our way so that we can keep the love of family, the love of just anybody, maybe co-workers, so we don't speak of the Most High in the midst of sinners, right? Now, it says, am I becoming your enemy because I tell you the truth? Am I therefore becoming your enemy because I tell you the truth? You know, and it clearly says, why trimmest thou thy way to seek love? And therefore hast thou also taught the wicked ones. Now we teach them by example. If we know that we're in the midst of sin and it's wrong for them to be doing what they're doing. And I know it says it's a time and a season for everything, but we're going to go here real quick. Jeremiah 10:2 says, thus saith Yahweh, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. So the point, learn not the way of the heathen. And you know, people, they'll try to say, oh, we're in different times. Like some people, they'll try to say that they only keep holidays because of the children, and they'll tell them when they get older and silly things like this. But the Most High says, train a child up from the way that they should be. You know what I'm saying? We're paraphrasing. So if he's saying raise them up from childhood, and Yahushua says deny not the children from coming to him, how are we saying we're going to teach a child wickedness while they're little, but then try to show them the right way when they get a little older? It makes no sense. You know what I'm saying? And it said, learn not to wear the heathen, right? But I want to go to another one here. Matthew 5:19 says, whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men to do so. How do you teach them to do so? By your actions, by the way you conduct yourself, because people lean more on how you walk than what you say. It says, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven, but whosoever shall teach them, shall do and teach them, so the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. So you're supposed to do and teach them, right? You have to do them. That is a form of teaching them by you doing them. Your children mimic everything you do, not everything you say, right? It said teach. It said the commandments, right? Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments. Now let's see what the least commandment says. Leviticus 19:17 says, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him, right? So let's get this. We're gonna go 1 John chapter 3. We're gonna go to verse 4. It says, whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is transgression of the law, right? So it says, thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. Not suffer upon him to do what? Sin is transgression of the law. Not suffer him to sin by transgression the law, but rebuke him and not let sin be suffered upon him. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Yahweh. So if you love yourself, you're not gonna want to do nothing to get yourself sent to hell. You're not gonna want to do nothing to get yourself harmed. And by staying in sin, you are harming yourself. You know what I mean? So that is why we have to follow this and not be one of those ones that break the least commandment and teach others to do so, but to rebuke our neighbor and not suffer sin upon them, because we are doing that. When we do that, we are showing that we our love for them. You know, it said, learn not the way of the heathen. That's a commandment. So what do we want to do? We want to not break this commandment. When we doing things, we don't want to learn the way of the heathen, following these other traditions, coming up with these silly things to trimming our ways by keeping the law, not keeping the law fully, just to seek after love, to have our loved ones to be happy with us. You know what I'm saying? Now we can also go here, really quick. The Apocrypha. We can go to Sirach. Let's see. Salakia. What we got right here? Okay, I was saying, learn not to way con. Okay, that's where I wanted to go. Actually, it's Salakia. It is chapter 2. Here we go. It says, my son, when thou come to serve Yahweh, prepare thy soul for temptation. So you're going to be tempted by these things. You're going to be tempted to trim your love to keep your family happy, because you not, I mean, everybody loves their family. So this thing you have to come with, are you loving the Most High more or your family more? And if you say, oh, I'm just doing this, you know, my family, they have to come in when it's time for them to come in. You know, it's the Most High that gives the increase. So all I can do is sit there and be patient with them. You know what I'm saying? And do this and that. But the Most High tells us not to learn the way of the heathen. And by you being with them, you may be laughing around them, not speaking of the Most High, just enjoying yourself in this environment of the ways of the heathen, and they thinking, oh, it's okay, we can do this and do that, and we'll just come around when the Most High moves us, instead of you rebuking your neighbor and not suffering sin upon them. You see what I'm saying? And then you have this, Sirach 32:17. A sinful man will not be reproved, but find an excuse according to his will. So if you're finding an excuse according to your will, you know what I'm saying, instead of you sitting in the midst of that sin and not rebuking your neighbor, you know what I'm saying, letting them know that this is wrong, but you sitting there having a good old time with them while they are in the midst of sin, and thereby being an accessory to the sin. You know what I'm saying, you find an excuse according to your will, or let me just go ahead and chill with my family. I still want to be around my family, but if they doing wrong, that's on them. But you're in the midst of that sin, you know what I'm saying? Because if we are caught, matter of fact, got you right here. We're gonna go right here to the book of Psalms, chapter 1. It says, blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners. See, you standing there, you being with them, you walking with them while they're in the midst of their sin, but his delight is in the law of Yahweh. So if your delight is in the law of Yahweh, and you see somebody going against that law, you're going to speak on it. It said, and in his law doth he meditate day and night, and it shall be like a tree planted by rivers of water that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he do shall prosper. The ungodly are not so, but are like chaff which the wind driveth away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. So we need to try to teach our people to be godly, you know, and not lead them in the midst of their sin, but rebuke them. so that they can be saved, you know. It said, for Yahweh knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish, you know. And we don't want our people to perish, so it's best that we go and tell them these things. Now, Matthew 10:37, it say, he that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. He that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And what does the Most High say? If you love me, keep my commandments, right? So we're saying to them, by sitting there laughing and giggling with them during these holiday feasts, these pagan day feasts, we're showing them by our actions that things are okay and they can continue doing what they're doing, you know, by us not saying nothing. You know what I mean? So we definitely want to get out of that state of mind thinking that it's okay to be just happy around the midst of sin. And yes, say we all sin and fall short, but we are, you know, striving for the truth unto death, and we want to make sure that the environment we are around are also like-minded people that are striving for the truth, you know. Galatians, am I therefore your enemy because I tell you the truth? And that happens. A lot of family members turn on you, said a man's foes should be those of his own household, you know. And we get that whoever committed sin, you in sin when you transgress the law. So we must teach our people to keep the law. And we have to prepare our soul for temptation, because we will most definitely be tempted by family members, by wives, by children, by jobs. And this is the thing too, right? Like, how can we say that we can die for the Most High and we're not even willing to give a job up for the Most High? You know, you trimming your way to seek the love of that dollar bill. You trimming your way to seek the love of your family. You trimming your way to seek the love of knowing where your next meal is going to come from, instead of taking things day by day like the Most High say, because worrying can't add a year to your days or a day to your life, man, you know. But like, how can we say we honestly love the Most High and we go and break the Shabbat, you know, when he says it should be a holy set apart day? But we rather get that money, but yet we say that we seek the kingdom first. But how are we seeking the kingdom first? And most I'll say we seek the kingdom first and all the things will be added to us. But how are we doing that when we're afraid to stand up for righteousness, to stand up for the Most High, to stand up for the fact that we don't supposed to work on the Shabbat, to stand up for the fact that, you know, I know some places you can't wear your fringes, but why not ask instead of being afraid that something is going to go wrong? They don't, you know, they don't do those things to Islam. They don't do those things to other people of other traditions when they keep the customs on the job site that they that are part of their religion or their beliefs. So why do we want to act as if we have to be afraid to keep the laws, to keep the statutes, the commandments of the Most High, you know, in the face of these people? You know, we have to stand up for righteousness. We have to stand up for the Most High, and we have to become bold, you know, for this righteousness. And I'll get one more. We can go to Jeremiah chapter 1. You know, it say, be not afraid of their faces, for I am with you. So likely to, but this is a good one. It say, be not afraid of their face, for I am with you to deliver thee, saith Yahweh. You know, most I say, don't be afraid of them, for he is with us. But I want to go to Joshua. You know, we go to 1:8. Says, this book of the law shall not depart from thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. So he's telling you that you will make your way prosperous. But the part I wanted to get with this is to do all that is written therein. You know, he says, do what he says. And all that's written in the law, part of that is wearing your fringes. Part of that is keeping the high holy days. Part of that is making sure you speak this word, you know, teach your brother not to be in sin. And verse 9 said, have I not commanded thee, be strong and of a good courage, be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed, for Yahweh thy power is with thee whithersoever thou goest. So he commands us not to be afraid. He commands us to be of good courage. He said, have I not commanded thee? Be strong and of good courage. Be not afraid, for I am with thee. And this is the Most High, Yahweh, you know what I'm saying, who made every weapon. When he says no weapon formed against you will prosper, because he made every weapon that you can think of, from a man using his mind as a weapon, or using physical things as a weapon, you know, or using the elements as a weapon. The Most High made all these things, and this is why he can stop any weapon that forms against you from prospering. Because what does he say? He says, when you do what's in the law, you will make your way prosperous. That is how you prosper in all things, by keeping all things that is written in the book of the law, because that is the way that he has things set up for us to prosper when we do these things that he set forth for us to do. You know, so with that, I want to say, don't trim your way for love. Keep the law, statutes, and commandments in the face of all adversity, in the face of all temptation. You know, and like the scripture says, my son, if thou come to serve, Yahweh prepare thy soul for temptation. You know, so be of good courage. You know, meditate on the law day and night, so we can observe to do all that is written therein, as it says. And Joshua, you know, we don't let this. It say, this book of the law shall not depart from thy mouth. So you're supposed to speak of these things. You're supposed to meditate on them, you know. And don't trim your way for love, man. You know, it says that whosoever therefore shall break one of these and teach men to do so shall be called least in the kingdom. And also, he that loveth father, mother, or mother more than Yahushua is not worthy of him, you know. And whosoever loveth daughter, love a son or daughter more than Yahushua is not worthy of him, you know what I mean? So we have to make sure that we put him first. He said, this is the first and greatest commandment, that you should love the Most High with your whole heart, mind, and soul. And, you know, by loving Yahushua in that way, we in turn are loving the Most High in that way, because he is the way for us to get to the Most High. So with that, I want to say Shalom Akah, and may Yahweh, Most High, bless us all that are diligently seeking him, as the scripture say. And like it says, we need to meditate on that scripture, Joshua 1:8, that when we meditate on all and keep this word of the law in our mouth, and try to make sure that we do all that is written therein, that is how we make our way prosperous. We wonder why we're going through these trials and tribulations and all these things. And he said he chastens all that he loves. That's true. But also, he will make your way prosperous if you keep his law, statutes, commandments, and have faith in his son. With that, I want to say shalom.